Welcome, everybody, to a special, unexpected, unrestricted, uncut,
unrestrained.
We're doing an extra episode of RODANE, basically while we're waiting to get everything done for our King Kong 2005 review, which is unyielding, unending. But since it's been a while, and in the meantime, the new Evangelion movie dropped on our Lord and Savior Amazon.
Yes.
We thought might as well give our thoughts on it, since we did an episode, a retrospective on Evangelion earlier in the year, I think.
Yeah.
We might as well do a fresh thoughts on it, since it's fresh in our minds. We just saw it both yesterday.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, without further ado, I don't want to introduce that. This is Daniel, by the way.
Hello.
No funny introductions necessary, I think.
No.
I am Steve, the other one.
I thought I was the other one.
Fine. I'm the baby. This is the other baby.
I mean, that is basically our podcast.
Okay. So, I guess quick background. We're both fans of Evangelion, obviously.
Yep.
We both seen the original TV series, the original ending movie, the three preceding movies from the Rebuild series, and this is the conclusion of said Rebuild series that was launched in 2007, 14 years ago, strangely enough.
How long was it between 3 and 4? Let's just call it 4.
Well, it is 4. It's the fourth one.
Yeah, but it's not called Evangelion 4. It's called 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice upon a time.
Oh my god, the third one was 2012.
Yep.
Fuck, so that's
9 years.
9 years. Jesus Christ, this is incredible.
See, imagine if this was live action, you would suddenly have to deal with, like, the actors of Shinji, Asuka, and Rei being 9 years older.
Yeah, it's like, weren't you like preteens a second ago?
Yeah.
Like, now you're...
Wasn't it a plot point that you don't age?
It's finally over. It's finally over.
Boy, is it.
It took forever.
Indeed.
And yeah, so we have Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.01 Thrice upon a time. Daniel, I mean, I'm just gonna jump right into it. What are your thoughts on this movie?
I mean, after I was done with it, I loved it. Honestly,
right.
I have problems with it. I have a lot of problems with it.
Oh, really? You and the rest of the internet.
But I loved it. I don't know. I remember when we did our Evangelion retrospective, we talked about what we wanted from this movie, and I remember saying something to the akin of, I don't even think it's going to be good. I just want it to be, I don't know, satisfying or whatever. But goddamn, motherfucker did it. I mean,
so it's directed by Hideaki Anno, and a lot of the sort of meta commentary in it is, due to Hideaki Anno's sort of creative voice on the series.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody wanted, I think, something else out of it. Everybody wanted something different out of the final one, right? They wanted, a lot of the fan base earlier on in the Rebuild series theorized that this version would be connected to the original series somehow. Or they wanted...
Which we'll get to.
Yeah, which is still not out. I mean, anyway.
No, I believe it is fully settled and done.
Oh, really?
I want to hear your arguments on that, because
okay.
I am adamant.
But yeah, or a lot of people wanted a more, redeeming arc for Shinji, because a lot of the fan base didn't like the third movie. And,
right.
They kind of wanted the fourth movie to backpedal on the third movie, which I don't think it did.
No.
But when all is said and done, I think, from my 2 cents, I think it's perfectly fine. I'm just glad it's over. Because I've been a fan of this franchise for many years. I think, did I introduce you to it?
You introduced me to it.
Yeah, so
you finally made me watch it, basically.
I became a fan of it in high school. And then I just wow, there's so much of it. And then I realized it's not over because the rebuilds are still going on. And then Yeah, and I'm just glad it's over because it's just been going on forever, and it's done.
I am also glad that it is all of it is over.
Yeah, and it's just wrapped on in a nice little bow at the end. Like fuck, like the movie itself is not paced very well. Like it has like 20 climaxes.
The movie itself is a mess.
It's the Return of the King plus an extra half an hour of content on top.
Plus an LSD trip.
Yeah. So it's not particularly well paced, but I think, you know, they had kind of a hard time doing it because they kind of had to appease all the fan bases surrounding it and also give a satisfactory conclusion.
Yeah.
Because there's like two planes of existence to the Rebuild series. They both exist as within their own fiction and continuity.
Yeah.
But they're like the characters in it are in the minds of both the creators and the fan base are just the characters from the original series.
Yeah, and that's where I think if you look at this movie as like just the ending to the Rebuild series, I think it's fine. But that's because Rebuild is a mess. But if you look at it as an ending to all of it, maybe minus the manga, you know, the original series end of Evangelion, the movie, and now Rebuild, if you look at it as an ending to all of it, I think it's a pretty good ending. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's still a mess, but it's pretty good.
Well, it's like that's the thing, like Evangelion has always been a hot mess, has it not been? Like, you know, you have the original ending of the TV series, which is, you know, a low budget 2 frames per second
PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, it's a PowerPoint presentation. Like, here's what I wanted to do. It's like they're pitching us the ending.
Yeah.
And then you had the movie, which was done because they like the fan base in Japan were issuing death threats to the creators.
Yeah,
so
that at least informs some of it. There's been some like talk about how much of the final product was informed by that, or you know.
Yeah,
we've already talked about that.
Yeah, but it's always been a mess. And
it's always been a mess.
The Rebuild series, funnily enough, in their effort to streamline the continuity and sort of the more bizarro, hard to comprehend things from the series, kind of made things even more needlessly complicated.
Even worse. Because, oh god, this movie goes full Gates of Guff at the end.
The Gates of Guff/Hell have opened.
Yeah, now we're at the Gates of Hell. We upgraded.
Again, it feels like the characters in the Rebuild, which are slightly different by the end of the third movie from the original series. I think we talked about that they tried to give Shinji a bit more agency. Maybe.
Right. Yeah.
And definitely that's true in this one, where he feels more like a character that at least goes through an arc, whereas by the end of Evangelion, one of the problems is like Shinji doesn't really change that much.
No.
And by this, he feels more like a fully formed, like a person who went through a journey, like more of a traditional journey, and now enters into some form of adulthood.
Right. Even though I gotta say, seeing him like older and flirting at the end, that was
it made me emotional, man. Like, holy shit.
Same, but it was weird.
He finally grew up. Since 1995, he's been a little boy, and now he's finally grown up.
It took him 25 years, 26 years?
Because they have what is it called? The child of the Eva curse or whatever?
Yeah, he can't age.
Yeah, him, Asuka, and Rei can't age. Well, Rei's anyway.
Well, Rei just dies.
Yeah. We don't see Asuka at the end, do we?
She's sitting at the station.
Oh, okay.
They focus more on Rei and Kaoru standing there, but Asuka is sitting there. I went back and checked.
Okay. Is she also aged up?
I don't think you see her very well. She's like sitting on one of the like benches or something.
Okay.
But I assume so. I assume she's like the others, you know, or at least given clothes that makes her seem like she's aged up.
Okay, by the end, I was pretty convinced that they leaned into the fact that, like, they acknowledged that the TV series is on a timeline that, in my opinion, and I might be wrong about this, I'll grant you that, but from what I gathered, like the Rebuilds is like a prequel to the TV series. Does that make sense?
Okay, I understood it as the other way around. That it's because what Shinji says in that scene where they like project
the TV show.
the TV show on him, which good shot, by the way.
Right.
This movie's full of good shots.
Aren't we? Yeah.
I think it's pretty well. Arno's a pretty good director. He talks about how he wants to create a world without Avis, and they project the show onto him, and it's like, I got the feeling that it's like, okay, I'm putting an end to all of it. Very authorially, I'm putting an end to all of the Evangelions.
Yeah.
Which also means the original show. And given some of the scenes that happen during that entire sequence, specifically the one with Asuka on the beach, is like, okay, this is Shinji now aware that all of the different versions of this story has existed, including the original show, and he's now basically he's ending all of it.
All right, fuck it, you win. I agree with that. I agree. I guess I couldn't put it in my mind the correct way, but I think you're right.
I mean, you might be right. I have no idea. This is just my interpretation.
No, but it's a good interpretation. I like it. Yeah. I think they also mentioned that with Karu's sort of conclusion to his arc, because they go back to that thing that we were weirded out when we talked about the rebuilds initially, where why does Karu get out of a casket on the moon from a series of caskets? And I guess they kind of acknowledged to this, they kind of tipped their hat to this cyclical nature that the story has, where, you had the TV series and now the rebuild is just a repeat of the TV series.
Yeah.
But with tons of CG thrown in. Am I to understand that those series of caskets are the other iterations of the story, one of which is the TV series?
Right. And you could also argue one of them is end, but we only see the end of it, if you want to go full meta on it. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like, there are multiple versions of this story, and we've just seen a couple of them,
Because then it cuts to, and because Shinji kind of goes through each of the characters that are at the end of the end of this. And the end of this, he goes through each character, and they kind of have a little mini conclusion to their arc. And he's with Karu on the beach, where the episode in the TV show in which he is, where he first meets Shinji. But he never meets Shinji like that in the movie, in the third movie.
No, he just shows up. Yeah.
Is that, I guess, because Karu is basically the same character in all of the iterations. So because I've seen this before, this theory that he's aware of the other iterations of the show.
Yeah, I've also seen that theory. And I do kind of agree, because he does say, I think it's the end of 2, when he throws the spear down on Shinji, and he says something to the akin of, this time it'll work, or something like that.
Oh, right. Yeah. And I think when they meet up and have dialogue in the third movie, he does drop a lot of allusions to they have met before or something like that. And
he also says when he dies that they will meet again.
Right. So that's interesting.
I think we've also confirmed that Mari knows, but I don't know how she knows.
Mari knows what?
That they're in a loop.
Right. Okay. We need to talk about the Mari character, but first let's wrap this up. So, essentially, for my money, and I guess for Daniel's money, the one theory that you, Daniel, remember when we talked about this, when we did our retrospective, you thought it was a bullshit theory. Now it's true. The fact that the universes are connected.
Right.
So it's pretty much confirmed, I would say. I mean,
I honestly believe after this movie that you cannot deny that these movies are sequels to the show.
Which is crazy to think about, but
it also kind of puts the whole thing in perspective, because, of course, if you're watching the Rebuild films, most likely you've already seen the original show. So all of the problems that are with the Rebuilds kind of they don't disappear, but they get a little bit less substantial when you have the entire show to sort of back some of it up.
I can't imagine anybody would go this far into the fourth movie of this Rebuild series without having seen the original TV series.
Oh my god, getting to the final half of this movie without having seen the original show, they would be like, what the fuck is going on? I mean, most people would probably be like that as well. Mom?
So let's talk about some of the characters. You mentioned what's her name?
Mari?
Mari. Okay, so is Mari sort of becomes more of a, or at least over, she got introduced in the second movie, right?
Yeah.
And over the course of her involvement, she kind of grew more and more of a role. And now she's pretty much been added to the main cast, sort of.
Yeah, but I don't know, I'm in two minds about her, because I do like her in this movie, and she's always fun to watch, I guess.
Yeah.
She's very carefree as a character, but I think the role they put her in this movie as kind of, this is going to sound so weird, as the right choice for Shinji?
I don't think they pitched towards that. I think
It's just when you look at the overall thing, there isn't that much development, and there's still a lot of confusion as to who she is.
Well, honestly, I mean, out of everybody, she's probably the best one for Shinji, because everybody else has so much baggage that.
And actually, that we'll probably get to that when we talk more about how the conclusion sort of fits. But I do actually like that. It just means that all the other characters gets to go and have their own, happy ending. It's not reliant on Shinji.
Yeah, because in a way, Shinji is toxic for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody hates him in a weird way. Like, even Rei is biologically engineered to like him, so
yeah,
it wouldn't be healthy for her to pursue any kind of relationship with Shinji.
And the whole Shinji Asuka thing is like,
no, that won't work.
That won't work. They'll murder each other within 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like that in a way. The movie just ships everybody.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, Asuka kind of gets a relationship with Kensuke, yeah, and
at least a guardian type thing, or like a father figure. I
guess.
Guess.
I mean, they're technically the same age, except her body doesn't age, which I guess that is kind of creepy. And Rei gets shipped with Ghost Boy Kaoru.
With Ghost Boy Kaoru, best boy.
Yeah. So I'm questioning. I guess they have a lot of things to talk about. Like,
they have a lot in common.
So how many times there are? It's like, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
But what I wanted to ask you is, because we don't get that much of Mari's backstory,
right?
So because we get these flashbacks, it basically acts as that one episode from the TV series where we get to see what happened during the first impact and the backstory of all of Gendo and Fuyutsuki and all that, and they kind of just has Mari been around since then, right? Because she's in there. She's in those flashbacks.
And she's in the photo of Shinji as a baby.
But she's the same age as she is now.
Yes.
So, explain.
Okay, I'm not 100% certain on this, but I read a theory yesterday that was like, she remembers all of her different lifetimes, but I don't know how that fits with her being the same age as the pilots, and then also when Shinji was a baby, an adult when Shinji was a baby. I don't understand that.
Well, okay, let me posit a different theory.
Okay, go for it.
What if she's actually the first child? So she was like the first iteration of the idea of a child piloting an Eva. So she's the first one to be affected by the Eva curse. Because she knows Fuyutsuki very well, so she might have been part of their experiments.
I mean, she was part of the same research thing. We do see her in the flashback pull up Gendo and basically introduce. It's framed in a way that it seems like she introduced Gendo to Fuyutsuki and Yui originally.
Yeah, so she might have been part of their research team for quite a while.
Right.
So she might have just been the first child to be experimented on.
That might be. It's never confirmed. That's the problem.
Yeah, but that's what I got out of it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally see that.
What else? There's a very extended fight sequence between Gendo and Shinji. What did you think about that?
That is, when it first started, I was like, please God, no. Because Gendo turns into fucking Optimus Prime, I don't know, with a fucking black hole in his face.
Stop lubricating on the human.
And then he goes into Unit 13, which the theory that we posited in our original retrospective, which is from the YouTuber Go Jesus, was that entire sequence where they were fighting was fake, and it was another unit he was fighting, and it was actually a flashback to the end of movie 2, or the in between movie 2 and 3.
Right.
Bullshit theory.
Yeah, that didn't work.
But
I guess it looked that bad because it looked unfinished, and it looks the same in the movie because they're on a playset.
Yeah, like when they first started firing, I was like, "Damn, this looks bad."
Yeah.
And then you suddenly see that buildings are being toppled, but they don't break. And then
they're like hits, cubes.
He hits the back of it, and it's you suddenly realize they're standing on a tokusatsu stage, and I'm like, okay, Anno, you got me.
You got us good. Like, to be fair, if you're positing theories, there's no way you could have gotten that. Like, there's just no way.
No. And I kind of, in hindsight, love it a bit because it's okay. The thing about Anno is that he's honest to a fault. He's very caring in what he does, clearly, and very honest. So he's giving you what you want, which is a big fight scene between Avas at the end, because people love it when Avas fight each other.
Right.
But he's still making it kind of a joke.
Yeah, he's being cheeky about it.
Yeah.
Well, because they even transport throughout scenes. Like, again, this is a
Sama's apartment.
This is a meta thing where, you know, it's the end of Evangelion as we know it. Like, we don't know if we're ever going to get anything Evangelion related ever, really. So... it's kind of like I was thinking it while I was watching it. It's like, are they endgaming this shit?
Yeah.
Where, you know, like how they use the time travel in Endgame to give us an excuse to visit locations throughout the previous movies. They do the same thing in this, where they use the fight to just kind of give you a highlight reel of remember this, remember that.
I mean, there's a ton of callbacks in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, oh boy, I'm waiting for the giant what is it, Ava Geeks wiki comparison between the other movies and the other series, the entire series in this movie, because oh my god.
They like, it's so strange to see two Avas on the scale of humans, like in Misato's apartment
or in like the classroom, and I'm just you're so tiny.
Why are you so tiny? I'm so glad that they finally gave some sort of resemblance of an explanation for the fucking key of the Nebuchadnezzar.
Oh yeah,
because it's one shot in the second movie, I think, where Kaiji brings a suitcase, and it's a callback to the original.
Yeah, where he brings the embryo of Adam.
Yeah, the embryo of Adam, which then Gendo attaches to his hand. And I was like, okay, so they're gonna do something with this fucking key, and then nothing happens in the third movie, and I'm like, they fucking forgot about the key.
There's some pretty cool, honestly, callbacks to specifically the second movie, weirdly enough, and some weird retconning of the second movie. So Asuka goes full angel mode in this one.
Right, which is cool to see,
Yeah, that was pretty cool. But then you think about, she was literally possessed by an angel in movie 2.
Yeah.
Because she was in Unit 4, I think, instead of Toski.
Yeah.
Who is in the original show. So it's like, okay, that makes sense.
And then she has one of those inhibitor things in her eyes. I was awesome. I was like, good, well played. Because in movie 3, if you remember this, her eye patch does glow when she kind of gets out of control and stuff.
When she gets mad.
Yeah. That was pretty fucking good there.
That was a cool scene.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck. Anyway, I'll defeat you with the power of rainbows. There is some slight retconning of movie 2.
There's a lot of inserting, like, Kaiji got elevated from in the original series, he was just like a scummy spy who gets killed randomly, and now he's like the Jesus of the...
Yeah, now he's like basically the hero of the entire story.
Oh my god.
Kaiji.
I was expecting we would get a flashback, because they keep saying that Kaiji sacrificed himself, and I'm like, how? How did he sacrifice?
We get a little bit. We get, like, he goes to the big chopper thing.
Yeah, and he has a spacesuit on. But we still didn't get an explanation of those interstills at the end of movie 2 showing us what's going to happen in movie 3, but then they never occur. So I kept expecting a shot of Kaiji just kind of pointing a gun at someone, remember? Because that was in it.
That was in it, yeah.
But I guess those were just lies.
Yeah, I guess.
There's no anime cosplay shot of Fuitsuki and Gendo on a mountain in raincoats.
Oh, that shot is so bad. There's one really weird, I don't know if it's can be considered a retcon or if it's just a different explanation to Asuka that I kind of like in hindsight.
Oh, because that she's part of a series of clones like Rei?
That she's basically a different version of Rei, or she's like a different branch of the Rei program.
They kind of have in between it where she's both a clone like Rei, but she still has the same mother issue angle like in the series. So I'm like, but how can she have mother issues if she's a clone?
Well, in the original, I think in the original show and in these movies, she's explained as being a test tube child, which means she doesn't really have a dad. Well, she does, but it's like a...
So I guess she has a donor mother, essentially.
Yeah, I kind of like that change, because it kind of makes sense, given how Rei and Asuka are sort of always put up against each other, but the difference is Rei always gets rebooted. They just make a new one, whereas Asuka is a continuous one.
Yeah.
She was the one that made it, and because of that, she's like, hey, I'm the big boy.
Yeah, she has a chip on her shoulder, right?
Right.
Because it's kind of explained visually. There's a lot of like quick visual explanations of very complicated things. Yeah. Which I guess is par for the course for the series. But they kind of explain visually that her series was a gigantic failure because like you see all these cardboards of her get removed and stuff. So I guess she's like the one that made it through.
Right.
But she kind of has the chip on the shoulder of being part of a series that has a very large failure rate.
Right.
So I guess that's why she kind of instinctively hates Rei, because Rei is kind of a reflection of her, right?
Right. And she also kind of hates Shinji because he just got put in an Eva seat without actually asking for it, and she's like, I fucking worked for this.
Yeah, and he's better than everybody.
Yeah. I don't know, I kind of like that change.
It's interesting,
I think it's a cool change.
Yeah, because her arc kind of abruptly ends, actually, in the end of Evangelion, and I think in this, it kind of just... They took care of just giving you all the characters on the poster, essentially, at least somewhat of a satisfactory conclusion, because, like, again, we don't know when we're gonna ever see these characters again, so it's like, we gotta give them something, you know?
Right.
Even Misato gets a nice little conclusion to her story, even though she's not that much of a player in the rebuild.
Yeah, and which is a bit sad because she got built up pretty well in the first movie, and then afterwards it sort of tapered off a little bit. But when she takes off the hairband and she has the proper hair which she used to, and she's just standing there on the helm, I was like, she's back, baby.
Back, baby. In time to... Oh, I love how Gendo and Shinji are in this metaphysical plane. I guess they're inside the apocalypse, pretty much.
Right.
Having a metaphysical battle in goofy sets and what have you, and discussing their issues. And, like, all of a sudden it's like, do you hear that? And it's Misato barreling through the apocalypse.
Misato is just like whole hawking it, was like, fuck you guys, I'm coming in.
It's so bizarre because they're basically in this movie, they're recreating the end of Evangelion.
Oh yeah.
Right.
This is like the end of Evangelion 2.
For the course for the Rebuild series, where a lot of the beats are the same as in the series, right?
Right.
So actually, like, you know, Misato gets shot. That also happens in the series. And
Ritsuko doesn't get shot. Gendo gets shot. That was satisfying.
Yeah, but that was a callback, wasn't it? It was a callback to the series. I was half expecting Gendo to say, or Ritsuko to say something, but not be audible.
Same.
But so there's a lot of beats that get repeated, but it feels like in points that the 1997 movie is happening, just like it does in the original. But then it gets interrupted with story beats from Rebuild.
Yeah. Kind of. It also, in a lot of ways, felt like Anno was, I'm not going to say rebuilding, I'm going to say remaking End of Evangelion in this movie.
That's exactly what he did, pretty much.
Yeah. but in a way where it's like, okay, there were some things I of course can't speak to any truth about this. This is just my interpretation. Is that there might have been some things that he did in the original end of Evangelion that he's like, I kind of want to redo that a little bit.
I can see
so,
that.
So we get the moment with Shinji and Asuka on the beach where they're not choking each other out. If you've never seen this series, this is gonna make no fucking sense. When until we get to Pen, the fucking penguin, and things like that, and like we get more of a confrontation between Shinji and Gendo, which I felt in the context of Rebuild is kind of weird because Gendo isn't really much of a character in Rebuild. He's just there.
Yeah, but again, the characters are not just the Rebuild characters.
Yeah, but that's
the sprawling characters throughout every iteration.
Yeah, but in the context of the entire thing, I kind of like that, because in if we only look at the original show, I don't think Gendo deserves redemption.
Well, he never gets. I mean, okay, so
he gets a little bit an end when he's lying on the floor dying,
I guess. But the idea again, it's going over the same beats, but I guess in different ways. Where Gendo, if you want to look at it in the fiction of the story, he gets rejected any version of human instrumentality and gets devoured by a metaphysical Ava, which is his wife.
Yeah.
So I don't think he gets any redemption really, because he gets eaten by an Ava. So I don't think
but he gets more of a, I don't know, time to explain himself.
Okay, I get you.
And we get a nice parallel between young Gendo and Shinji being very similar.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was really nice. I really like that.
Ano, it kind of comes across to me, I don't know. Again, we don't know what his intentions were, but it comes across to me that he regretted the fact that there was no actual proper confrontation between Shinji and Gendo by the end. Because they're just doing their own thing in the end of Evangelion. They have nothing to do with each other.
Right.
So in this, it's so nice that they finally get to talk, And actually, Gendo's fate is exactly the same as in the original, where he just realizes he fucked up as a dad and was afraid of responsibility, and then metaphorically gets off the train.
But here he, like metaphorically and literally.
Well, it's not a real train, so I guess.
No, but in what we're seeing in the movie, they are on a train, and I'm glad we got the train car. I missed it. Instead of it just being him lying on the floor dying, suddenly going, I guess I fucked up somewhere.
I guess this is a bit fucked up, isn't it?
It's after an actual confrontation with Shinji, and they actually get to talk it out. Which
and it gives Shinji some closure as well.
Yeah. A lot of people have talked about End as being very nihilistic, which I don't believe it is.
I think it's a lot more darker than this.
Yeah, this is kind of like the happy version.
It's kind of like, Ano's corrected version. It's kind of like a George Lucas thing, I guess, but in a better way.
There's a lot more CG.
Yeah, there's a lot more CG. Well, at least he didn't. Can you imagine if he just went over the original end of Evangelion, just tried to insert new shots and CG all over the place?
Oh my god! I mean, there were actual shots from End in this movie.
Yeah, but they just took probably the boards and drew them again and stuff.
Right.
So I still appreciate it for what it is. Like, it's not a correction of End of Evangelion. It's just it's kind of like a tribute show for the series as a whole. It's like,
which is kind of what Rebuild was to begin with.
Yeah,
like, it was kind of like, hey, let's do this again, but flashier.
It's the comeback tour. It's the Rolling Stones and at 70 going to Havana for a concert.
Yeah, and it's like it doesn't really sound like it did back then because they're 70 and been through a couple of drug addictions.
We're gonna rock your brains out.
But it's still there.
Yeah, it's still fun to watch. What did you think of Uncanny Valley CG head Ray?
Oh boy!
When that shit popped up, I was like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
I wish they didn't.
Thanks, I hate it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part. I mean, I guess if you want to do something really uncanny, the way the original giant white Ray was, I guess that's that's fine, but it's really fucking creepy.
Yeah. But I guess that's also the point of Giant Ray. Like, she is supposed to be fucking terrifying. Kind of is in the original movie, but also kind of isn't. Because it's just a big ray.
Right. I wonder why they did only the head CG. That's my question.
Yeah, I don't know.
And also, why are her hands not attached to the rest of her body?
I don't know.
Everything just becomes like a white corpse, like a like a white ghost. I kind of like that. The whole fun part about End of Evangelion, or at least a giant chunk for me, is the spectacle at the end, right, where everything disintegrates into craziness. And I think they pretty much pulled it off again. You know, like, it's still weird and creepy and strange, and there's a lot of it. And obviously they have CG this time around, so they're fucking everything. Like, there's a lot of CG, and it looks good for the most part. There's some.
I was a bit weirded out when I saw in the opening credits 7 CGI teams. And I was like,
but I mean, you kind of need 7 CGI teams for some of the shots near the end. Like, it's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
It looks like some of these shots, they look like if you take a snapshot, you can put it on a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess part of the course for the rebuild specifically is a lot of nonsense explanations. Like, it kind of overwhelms you after a while. It's like, oh, we can make another spear.
Yeah, we just make it.
And then they just give you a bunch of explanation that makes no fucking sense.
When they have to explain what's on the other side of the fucking gates of hell. It's the negative zone. They call it like the anti-universe, but it's like that's when my brain goes off and I'm like, look, pretty colors.
Wait, what's that over there? But there's a lot of these. There's a lot of explanations where you're like, what's because I'm very picky about the lore, because I got to a point where I think I understand the lore of the original TV series, at least.
Right.
But it's been a while since I've seen the previous Rebuild movies, which I'm thankful for the little recap at the beginning, I guess.
Yeah, it was a pretty brisk recap.
Yeah, but I'm still a bit confused as to how certain things operate, like.
Right.
Because they say there's something about, like, making a spear out of a spinal cord. And I'm like, what's that spinal cord from? What?
Right.
What?
Yeah, I got nothing.
I got nothing. Remember, like, I'm pretty sure there's like 5 spears by the end. Like, because
let's see, there's the 2 spears from 3. And then 1 gets turned into the actual spear it was supposed to be in 3, because there's Cassius and Longinus.
Yeah.
Then there's the 1 they make. And there might be another. I don't know.
Well, they turned the moon into 2 spears.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah. And the thing that comes out of the different, like, ships. Yes. Right, so there are like 5 spears at the end.
So you're like, what the fuck is going on?
I kind of want to, like, in my headcanon, when Anno wrote this movie, he wrote everything but the pseudoscience bit, and then he just crammed a crack ton of cocaine, and then he went to work.
We got a fucking spinal cord. There's 5 spears. 2 of them are made by the Black Moon. Can you imagine, like, talking to your team of animators about, you know, like, oh, like, you have to animate 2 spears now, but, like, aren't there 2 spears already? Like, no, these are the other 2 spears.
I would think that Anno makes excessive storyboards to make sure that this is perfect.
Yeah, but like, it's still like, can you imagine, like, being an animator animating something and you don't understand what you're doing?
What am I doing?
What is this? So let's talk about the number of impacts that are in this fucking Rebuild series. So so I guess in the 3rd one there's a 4th impact, which, by the way, stop fucking with the numbers, Anno. God damn it. Like, so there's a bunch of, like, incongruity with the numbers, which fucking kills my brain in the Rebuild series, where Eva Unit 0 is piloted by Rei, who's like, she's not even the first. She's like the 2nd child or the 3rd child, and, like, you know, Shinji is not the first. first child, but he's piloting Eva Unit 1. There's a fourth impact in the third movie. So I guess this is the fifth impact?
Yeah, but the funny thing is they keep calling the impact at the end of movie 2 near third impact.
Yeah, because I guess it got stopped. But they don't refer to the impact that happens in 3 as the third. The continuation, of the third impact. They just call it the fourth impact.
It's like, but what happened to the third?
It's not complete.
But that's where my question is that the thing that Kaji stopped, that we never get to see?
Yeah, he stopped the third impact.
Right. Not the near third impact, because that was the thing Shinji did and got a spear thrown through him for.
Well, no, that was it. That was...
Then what's the third?
Well, that was the... Okay, let me see. So there's the first impact.
That was the meteor, right?
Yeah. Right. Then there's a second impact.
That's the Antarctic. Yeah.
And the near third impact is when Shinji gets a spear thrown through him.
I thought it was when he tried to save Rain and goes all God mode.
But that's when he gets a spear thrown through him.
Okay.
And I think that's also when Kaiji sacrifices himself.
Right.
Because the flashbacks are showing they're like the same color scheme and it's the same setting as the...
Yeah, it's like that apocalyptic setting where like Shinji's gone all God mode and Misato is like clutching her necklace.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So that's when Kaiji dies and also when Kaoru throws a spear into Shinji. So we don't know. We still don't know what happened exactly there, but something happened that stopped third impact. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So in the third movie, there's a fourth impact, which is that one isn't complete either.
Right.
So I guess I have to go back and watch the Rebuild movies again. But in the third movie, Kaoru says something to Shinji right before he gets his fucking head blown off. He says, like, these are the opening bell tolls for the fourth impact. So maybe what they were doing was the beginning, because what they do, if you remember in the third movie, they bring the moon, which is the meteorite, I guess.
Right.
The black moon out of the ground.
Right.
And that's still out of the ground.
Yeah, it gets used in this movie.
So I guess that's what, essentially...
The thing is, although, like, I think it's either Gendo or Fuyutsuki that talks about how the different impacts may pave the way for this one we see in this movie, which is the human instrumentality. Like, one purified the ground, turned it red.
Yes.
One did it to the ocean, that was the first one. Then it happened to the ground, which is in between 2 and 3, because in movie 3, the ground is red. And then now they're going to purify the souls, and that's human instrumentality.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes, you're correct. So they're basically, there have to be four impacts.
Right.
For the world to properly go into human instrumentality.
Right. I don't know, I hope you understand this.
I mean, well, I kind of do, but they keep calling the third impact near third impact, so that implies that it's not been finished.
Yeah, that it's like it just about happened or something like that. Yeah.
Well, because by the time it was happening, Shinji got a spear thrown through him, and I guess that stopped him.
Right.
So, does that count?
I don't know.
Well, I guess the world looks pretty fucked up when we jump through time, which we still don't get an explanation.
Yeah.
Now I'm starting to get why fans are pissed at this. It's very intentionally obtuse in places, is it not?
Yeah, and when you start thinking about it, you start feeling like you need a couple of boards and like red string in order to...
It's that scene from Always Sunny, right?
Yeah. Like, that's kind of how it feels when you go into the law. But, I don't know.
But it doesn't matter. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You don't... I mean, I didn't feel like it mattered by the end because, one, it's been a while since I've seen the third movie, so I don't know what the fuck is going on either way.
Right.
And two, I just felt like the movie was trying more to be like a fan service movie, not in showing butt shots, but I mean,
also, it did that as well.
It did that as well. But it's more of a fan service movie in the sense that let's give the people what they want, in the sense that let's do the end of Evangelion, but again, and
Yeah.
this time forever.
Happy. Yeah.
Yeah, and with a happy ending. Because
Right.
yeah, I feel like a lot of people felt like the end of Evangelion, even though it's an awesome movie, it
Sure is.
it didn't conclude properly, or it concluded on a weird note, like a kid
Yeah.
choking another kid. It's like, if you're like me and you're trying to figure out the plot, you're like wasting your fucking time.
I'm kind of happy it's over.
Yeah, and it ended conclusively. That's what I'm most glad. I hope we're not gonna get in the end of Evangelion college years now.
I mean, I kind of would watch that, but
I have to say that shot with Rei and Shinji, where they project the series behind the original series behind them,
right?
It kind of seemed like Shinji's pitching a TV show to Rei.
Yo, Rei, go do this.
Listen, I have this idea for a TV show. It also felt like, on a meta level, it's about how Hideaki Anno thought of the original TV show.
Right.
It's like, I'm in this bad place right now, and what about this TV show called Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Yeah, but also how he's older now. He just wants to be done with this shit. I mean, like, he still has a certain affection for this. I'm 100% certain he does.
Of course. How can you not have affection for something that's made you so much money?
Ask George Lucas. But he also wants to be done with this, and he wants to be done with it on a happy note. He doesn't want to kill everyone or whatever.
Also, you can see it in that first 30 minutes where the characters are on their vacation in that village.
Oh man, I wanted that thing to be the whole movie. I was vibing. It was great.
It does have that underlining tension of like, oh no, is everybody here gonna die?
Yeah, and then Rei like fucking reboots or whatever she does and falls on the floor, and it's like, oh no.
turns into LCL, like.
Yeah, and then Asuka decides to like fucking cram food down Shinji's throat.
Oh my god, that was horrific.
We're back.
We're back, baby. But that was horrific. That thing
I did find it weird though that when Shinji first meets Asuka, he sees her. She has the DSS choker on her, and he starts vomiting because PTSD.
Right.
But when Rei goes pop, nothing.
Well, I mean, he does scream, doesn't he? And he's like, distressed.
But he doesn't like.
Well, that's after he kind of, got a bit better.
Also, Tosuke got with class rep.
Yeah, finally, yeah.
About fucking time. I even love the Kensuke's like, could you imagine those two got together? They were always yelling at each other. I'm just sitting here having watched the entire series going, yes.
Yes. I do like that they have like a moment where Totsuke's sister, who we knew from the third movie, was working on the, what is it called? The Wunder? The ship?
Wunder? Yeah.
Yeah.
It keeps making whale noises.
Yeah. Well, it looks like a whale, I guess so.
I think Wunder does. No, it's Vile that means like whale, I think.
Yeah.
The organization. Also, I got huge Death Stranding vibes for that like first 40 minutes. It's like post-apocalyptic village. There's a lot of like weird technology that sort of sustains them. The green grass, the fucking corporation that brings the credit, I think it's called.
Yeah, credit, yeah.
That was very Hideo Kojima.
Yeah. And comes Norman Reedus, I got a package for you.
Yeah. And I was just like, Anno doing Death Stranding. I dig it.
Yeah. I wonder if him and Hideo Kojima are friends. I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised. I actually think there was a tweet by Hideo Kojima about this movie.
All right.
That he watched it and loved it or something like that.
Well, it's not surprising, is it?
Yeah. It's very him.
It's very you, Hideo. What did you think of the shots that give us flashbacks to Shinji with when he's a baby and meets baby Asuka?
That was weird.
It was weird, wasn't it? Also, it's so strange to see Shinji with his parents, because I don't think we ever seen it in the original, him with both of his parents together.
Yeah, and he's like, you can see like Gendo is holding him and he starts crying, and then Yui takes him and Gendo is like,
I'm a bad father.
I'm a bad father. Yeah, like you can clearly see and shout out to the animators. that he's like saddened by that, but it's all framed through a memory Asuka has.
Right,
And
which is strange.
And it's like, I mean, if that particular clip was like earlier in the series, like in movie 2 when Asuka gets introduced, we sort of set that up, then it's interesting. But here in movie 4, it's like,
Well, they try to cram in those clips that you have for all the characters. They try to cram as much backstory as they can for each of them. It's like,
because
I half expected Kaiji at the end to appear and be like, "Hey, this is my backstory.
This is why I love watermelons.
This is why I love watermelons." It's like the Han Solo thing, like somebody named me Solo.
I love that Misato had a box of his watermelons on the ship.
That was pretty funny. Yeah, they actually did. There was a weird exchange. Well, weird. It was interesting that Misato and what's her name? Ritsuko. They have a conversation with Gendo.
Right.
And in that conversation, Gendo mentions that this is all part of Misato's dad's initial theory.
Yeah, because Misato's dad was there during Second Impact.
And that's weird.
Right.
They did bring up the fact that Misato's dad did sacrifice himself in movie 2. I think they bring it up.
Right.
So I guess that's a continuation of that whole thing.
I don't know. It's very convoluted.
And also, we get an explanation of why the fuck there's a piano in the ruined Nerf headquarters. It's because Gendo's a big fan of the piano. He's like, yeah, I'm a jazz man.
Tinkling the ivories.
Yeah. I still love whenever I see Fuyutsuki on screen.
Fuyutsuki's the best.
Because he's just done. He's done with this. He lived way farther than he did in the original series. Because now he's way older. And he's just like rugged old man. He's like, what am I even doing? Like,
I love he's standing on the bridge of the other ship.
Right.
And he says something to the akin of like, I'm just indulging Gendo.
You're indulging Gendo and ruining the world forever. It's like, okay.
It's like, I'm just doing my best.
I'm just doing my thing. I'm just being. What was that dubbed clip from like a YouTube video where they dubbed the Evangelion movies where it's like, the world's ending and I don't give a shit.
Fuyutsuki's low-key one of my favorite characters.
Also, there's a scene which I don't know what to make of it, where Karu is in Gendo's chair, in Gendo's clothes, talking to Kaji. What the fuck was that? And he calls him Commander or something? Kaiji calls him Commander? What the fuck was that?
I don't know.
So I thought that because there's a bunch of conversation between Karu and Kaiji in that last bit there. And I'm like, are they implying that they set up a plan separately from Gendo?
Yeah, I think so. I think there is some implication that like what happened in the end of movie 2 and what we don't get to see and what sets up movie 3 is kind of their plan-ish. I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I would have to go back and rewatch that scene to sort of understand what the fuck they're talking about.
I think that's why fans are frustrated about this, because we still don't get explanations for a lot of things. We don't get any proper explanations of what happened between movie 2 and movie 3. We don't get an explanation why Shinji was dormant for 14 years.
Right.
And where was he? Like, he's just in like a huge cross in space in movie at the beginning of movie 3.
Movie 3, yeah. There's a bunch of stuff we don't know.
Look forward to it in
the director's cut. It's 8 hours.
In the new TV series Evangelion, the lean years. Regardless, I think, needless to say, we both enjoyed it, right?
Yeah.
It's a freak out. It's definitely
it's definitely a movie.
And what do you think Shinji is doing when he's in college or whatever? I would say he's probably getting busted for masturbating in inappropriate places.
I was actually, this is a bit inappropriate.
Why?
I mean, so were your masturbation line, but yeah, probably. I was actually thinking if Mari and Shinji's dating, she's gonna break him in half.
Oh. The scene at the end where she puts her hands on his eyes, I guess she's like girl with big boobs.
The gorgeous girl with big boobs. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I read that line and I was like, "This is all you are, Mari. I'm sorry."
Oh my god. Well, that's like, you know, oh, our boy Shinji grew up. It's like, well, I guess he didn't grow up that much.
Yeah, I guess so.
And also ends with a live action shot. I think, is that the studio at the end?
I don't know. It was a station, and then it like pans out over the city.
Over the live action.
Yeah.
So, which I think they did like animated characters over
live
action.
They did animated characters, like they did Shinji and Mari like running out of the station.
Right. That was cool.
Yeah, that was a cool use of live action. Because of course we're gonna get live action. It's a fucking Evangelion movie.
It's the end of Evangelion again, so it has to be live action.
And there were cats.
Yeah, and there were cats as well. Lots and lots of cats.
A lot of cats.
Right.
Steven, I want to ask you, do you want to see more Evangelion after this?
I always want to see more Evangelion. What kind of question is that? But
right.
I don't know what else can we get out of this. Like, it's, you know, it's pretty definitive ending. I'm happy if it stops here again.
Yeah.
I do have a dream of one day going to that fucking theme park that they have in Japan.
Yeah, same.
But I don't know. I don't know what else you could do with it. I mean, maybe do college years. You know how Japan does a lot of like spin-offs that are just like slice of life shows, but they're spin-offs of like really messed up sci-fi shows.
Oh yeah, or like the Fate cooking show.
Yeah, like maybe do that. Fuck it. But I mean, I don't think I would be into it. But
the thing is, like, I kinda would like to see more if it was like it's the world but not the characters.
I think the movies are so intense that you know, there's always stuff going on. CG's flying everywhere, and
right.
And I would love to see like a more low-key TV series like the original, you know,
right?
Because I don't need this much action, really. No. Especially if it's a TV series. Like, I would just like to see, like you said, like, you know, some world buildings and whatever. Like, maybe just, I don't know. Like, I don't even need necessarily to see the characters back. I think the characters are concluded. You know, their arcs are. You know, I don't want to see another Shinji go through another series of fucked up scenarios just to end up in the same place. You know, like I think they established that the loop is closed, so there's no point.
That also makes me guess, like, is it even possible? Because let's say you wanted to do like, oh, we're just gonna do a slice of life in Tokyo 3 kind of a thing with a new set of characters, but it's still Tokyo 3.
I think you could do that.
I think you could do that, but then you're coming into the idea of like, where is it in the timeline? You know.
Well. It happens both
because we have beginning and endings, so
yeah, it happens both in the original TV series and the Rebuild movies and between all the movies at the same time. So good luck.
Good luck. It just happens.
It just happens. No, but I don't think they're gonna make any more of it. Maybe they're gonna do live action.
Yeah, like I honestly, watching specifically the first half of this movie, I would like give Anno a big budget and just make him make whatever he wanted in live action. Like. Same with Hideo Kojima. Just give him like $200 million and see what the fuck he does.
That's not gonna happen. But
no.
But I would be happy if it just ends here. Honestly,
yeah, same. Honestly,
I would just look forward to other Hideaki Anno projects and
like both him and Kara, his studio. I want to see what they do because they're clearly talented.
Also, this movie had 4 fucking directors.
Really?
Yeah, one of them is Hideaki Anno, but there's like 3 other people. They're just people who, from what I can see, they're just people who worked on other projects with Hideaki Anno.
Oh,
like, one of them is like a director of animation on the original series and in the end of Evangelion and FLCL, sorry.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
And one of them, Mahiro Maeda, he's worked in the art department on Mad Max Fury Road, Kill Bill Volume 1, Shin Godzilla, and The Animatrix.
That is a resume.
And he was a director of one of the segments on the Animatrix, okay?
Oh, nice.
The Second Renaissance Part 1 and the Second Renaissance Part 2.
So that's the the history recap,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Right, yeah.
Holy shit.
Holy shit, I remembered that. It's been like decades since I've watched the Animatrix. Thanks, brain.
Yeah, that was a good segment. Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
no, there you go. I mean,
Yeah.
4 fucking people to bring this fucking disaster to a close. But love it or hate it, like it's Evangelion. What do you want? It's always been a fucking train wreck, and that's kind of the fun part of it,
Yeah, and it's a beautiful train wreck in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's like you can't look away. The fires are so beautiful.
Yeah, like I still loved it. I think it was great. It's still a hot mess, but I still loved it.
Yeah, maybe we'll watch it again someday, and maybe we'll change our mind completely and think it was garbage. But I think for now, I'm just glad it's over and we get some closure.
Right.
And because it felt for a while that it was never gonna come out, and I was just be like, oh no. And now I'm just glad it's over and that we got a conclusion, and we can just watch the TV series and then the Rebuild movies and be done with it.
And
yes,
they are finally releasing the TV show on Blu-ray in the West.
But isn't it available in HD on Netflix?
Sure, but there was never an official Blu-ray release.
And I mean, I've already seen it in HD on Netflix.
Yeah, but if you want to own it physically, damn it, pay $1,000 for it. Come on,
pay me. Here's hard cash. Platinum credit cards. We only accept platinum credit cards. But did they remaster that one episode that they couldn't find the original master for?
I assume not.
Well, then that's not worth my money. There you go.
Well, I just think they took the Netflix HD.
The HD file, they ripped them and they just put them on a Blu-ray disc.
I am almost 100% certain.
Oh my god, the hustle. Oh, can you imagine if they, because I think for one of the DVD releases, they put in a bunch of cutscenes in the show, in some of the episodes. Can you imagine if he puts, like, Hideaki puts more shit back in, and you discover a bunch of crap was happening? Rebuild Shinji was there all along. He was standing in the background. There's multiple Kairus. There's a version of Gendo there with his stupid visor on. It's like, oh no. The Key of Nebuchadnezzar, there's a deleted scene where they talk about that, and it's like, oh no. You know that meme with that kid with all his veins that are like showing, when he's nervous? That's like me. It's like, no.
Great. It never ends.
There's one last hurdle. If the Blu-ray is exactly the same as everything else, then I'll be happy, because at least we know that it's done. We don't need to look into other stuff anymore. But there you go. I guess that's the end of our discussion, I think. I don't think we have anything else more to say. I don't think
we have much more to say. Go see it.
Go see it. If you're a fan. I mean, if you haven't seen any of this at all and you got to the end of this episode... and
No. If you haven't seen any Evangelion, watch this, but do it high as a kite. I'm just saying.
There's like some seal sounding jazz music in it. Like
the soundtrack is a fucking banger in this movie.
There's like a early 2000s or mid 90s ballad there. It was like, is this
the fight at Paris that opens the movie has a sick banjo riff.
Oh yeah. Also, that fucking Paris fight has nothing to do with anything in the movie.
No, they get spare parts to rebuild the two apes.
That doesn't have to be in the movie, Danny. We could have just said, they could have just said we rebuilt the Evas, and that would have been it.
Yeah, like we got stuff.
They just did it so they could do a teaser at that French festival.
Yeah. And like ruin the Eiffel Tower, because who doesn't want to ruin the Eiffel Tower?
So I guess that's that. But anyway, this is the end of the last Rebuild movies of the Evangelion series, and we both enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed it as well, listener, viewer. Stay tuned for more stuff from us. The King Kong review is on its way. It's nearly complete, I hope. And we're still due to release those commentary tracks, which we recorded 2 of already.
Yep.
And see ya.
See ya.